Prabhupada ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan Yogi ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 13, entitled Brahma Stealing the Boys and Calves, Text 24. Gavastato gostam upecha satvaram. Gavastato gostam upecha satvaram. Onkara gosai parihutta sangatam. Onkara gosai parihutta sangatam. Swakan swakan vatsataran apayayan. Moholihancha sravadu sadampaya. Gavastato gostam upetya satvaram. Onkara gosai parihutta sangatam. Swakan swakan vatsataran apayayan. Moholihancha sravado dasampaya. Ladies. Gavaha, the calves, tata, thereafter, gostam, to the cowsheds, upecha, reaching. Satvaram, very soon. Hunkara Goshai, by making jubilant moving sounds. Parihutta Sangatan, to call the cows. Swakan, Swakan, following their respective mothers. Vatsataran, the respective calves. Apayayan, feeding them. Muhu, again and again. Lihantya, licking the calves. Sorry, where was it? Here. Swarat Udasampaya, abundant milk, flowing from their milk bags. Purport. All the dealings between the calves and their respective mothers, taking care of them, were enacted by Krishna himself. It's a very short purport. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Kinandana Salakya Shakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Dvaita Gadadhar Sri Vasudeva Gaura Bhaktivedanta. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is described as Yogeshwar. Yogeshwar means it's sometimes translated as the supreme mystic. And yes, there is no limit to Krishna's mystic power. Krishna can realize whatever he desires. That is known as Satya Sankalpa. That whatever his determination is, that becomes true immediately. So Krishna can certainly perform magic activities that are going beyond the limitations of nature. And that, of course, is wonderful. When Krishna lifts Govardhan Hill, that is wonderful. But when Krishna's mystic power becomes like within the realm of the human domain, and where it is just very subtle, suddenly Brahma, who had taken the calves and the cowherd boys, came back and they were still there. They were still there. So Krishna's mystic power was not going outside of the realm of the ordinary. Everything seemed to just, nothing had changed. So life just went on as if nothing was happening. So Krishna's mystic power in this particular pastime is very subtle, right? Unlike Govardhan, where his mystic power is just like, like very obvious. Here he is lifting a mountain. But now he is not at all, no one noticed it, right? No one knew about it. And only Brahma was expecting something unusual, something confusing, because he was thinking, but I put these boys in a cave, and he came back and they're here. Did he take them back out of the cave? Went back to check the cave, they were still there. Then they were also there with Krishna. Then he didn't know anymore what is going on here. And now which ones are the real ones and which one are the false ones? And he became more and more confused. Others were just seeing, yes, another day in the life of Vrindavan, right? And the Krishna and the cowherd boys came back and, as they did every day. And of course, it was quite something. Everyone was eagerly waiting for Krishna and the cowherd boys to come back. I mean, the tallest gopi had been placed on the tower of the palace of Yasoda and was the whole day in a lookout post. And finally, in the evening, when dust appeared in the sky, then it was clear Krishna is coming. So, she would call out, "Dust!" and everyone woke up. Throughout the day, the residents of Vrindavan were kind of absent-minded. They were just looking all in one direction. Even the branches of the trees were pointing in that one direction. They were absent-minded because their minds were in the forests. Their minds were with Krishna. And they were just waiting for Krishna to return. So, another ordinary day in the life of Vrindavan. And then the cowherd boys and cows and calves would return, and it would be like a big thing. Everyone was waiting and everyone was looking as they would come in. And even the animals, there were parrots dancing in the sky, watching the whole thing. The peacocks, instead of dancing, stood frozen. The little Gilari, the squirrel, which has 3 lines on its back, because Lord Ramachandra was very pleased when the squirrel was also helping to build the bridge, and then he scratched the squirrel. So the squirrel got 3 white lines on its back in India, the Gilari. So in this way, the squirrels are also in ecstasy, seeing Krishna and the calves return, and Krishna and Balaram surrounded by the cowherd boys. And there was a huge river, a white river just flowing into Vrindavan, right? A river of cows. And all the eyes were focused on Krishna. Everyone, all the cows, all living beings, humans, animals alike, all their eyes were on Krishna, and so on. An ordinary day in the life of Vrindavan, right? So anyway, so they came back and it just looked like an ordinary day in the life of Vrindavan. But then what happened was that this time Krishna didn't do anything exceptional. It was the residents of Vrindavan that began to act exceptional. First the cows. The cows, they suddenly ran towards the calves that were coming back. I mean, that was unusual. Normally it's the calves that run after the cows because the cows have the milk. So, the cows have a reason. The calves have a reason to run after the cows. But this time the cows were running after the calves. And the interesting thing was they already had new calves. These calves were already 1 year old and they had new calves, but they didn't care about these little baby calves. No, they just went for the older calf and wanted to feed the older calves their milk. And they licked the bodies of these calves again and again. And the milk was just naturally flowing from their milk bags, right? So in this way, these cows, they were in some sort of unusual state of consciousness. Then the same thing happened with the human beings. The fathers, they saw their sons, the cowherd boys, and normally, fathers, they're not that emotional. Yes, okay, yes, all right, yes, see you at home kind of thing, But no, nothing like that, The fathers, they took their sons on their laps, they embraced them. The fathers, they also cried tears, the tears were running in their beards and all these things, right? So it was a whole, it was an unusual thing, very unusual, because, but somehow or other, people didn't really catch on to it, right? Somehow or other, they were all overwhelmed like this, and they didn't catch on to it. They didn't notice, like, something strange going on. The only one who kind of noticed that something strange is going on was Balaram. Balaram was thinking, something unusual is happening here. What is this? So Balaram caught a hint of the whole thing, but everyone else was somehow or other too absorbed in loving their sons. And they never ever questioned that, to love their sons or to love their calves. Right? Now, the residents of Vrindavan, it is said that for long, the residents of Vrindavan had been just so much overwhelmed by Krishna. And they had just seen that Krishna is the most amazing child. Never before have we seen any child like him. He's just extraordinary. I mean, the way he looks, what he does, and even his mischievous behavior, I mean, is amazing. I mean, when he steals the milk and butter, I mean, he is so tricky. And the things and the ideas that he develops when he steals, and they build a human tower. When we hang the pots off the ceiling so that they can't reach him, they build a human tower. Somehow or other they get there. That is the amazing thing. So, in this way, there was no end. There was no end to the amazing features of Krishna. And of course, the residents of Vrindavan were all talking about him, wonderful Krishna. There is that chapter in the Krishna book called Wonderful Krishna, and then all the residents of Vrindavan are remembering, right, when he was only a very small child. Then this witch Putana came, and she was enormous, and he just killed her. It was amazing. It was amazing. Yes. He just killed her. Something. Huge witch, enormous. But, like that. And it carried on and on and on. Sakatasura, the cart demon, the demon who just took that form, entered into the cart that was loaded up with so many things. And this cart demon was just, the cart demon was trying to crush Krishna. Trinavarta, the whirlwind demon. So many different demons came, and the residents of Vrindavan were talking about all the miracles that surrounded Krishna. Sometimes they couldn't see that it was Krishna. Sometimes they just thought Narayan. Narayan was protecting him. This whirlwind lifted Krishna in the sky, but it was not Krishna who did this. It was just Narayan. Because his parents are great devotees. And the boy must have some punya from previous life. Because naturally when the parents are great devotees, they attract the child that's also devotee and all these things. So therefore, he has some special protection. Look, a whirlwind took him up in the sky. And he was high in the sky, and yet he landed on the earth unharmed. Incredible. Inconceivable. How is it possible? Imagine it. Things start flying, and you see sometimes footage of these cyclones and that lift up houses and all these things. And it's not a small thing. So if we visualize what Krishna survived, it was amazing. Everyone was amazed by Krishna. And therefore, because they were so amazed by Krishna, they developed a desire. They developed a desire that, if only we would have a son like Krishna. Oh, if only Krishna would have been our son. Oh. And so Krishna knew very well. All these elderly, but all these adult cowherd men and cowherd women all had the desire that Krishna would be their son. But how is this possible? So they're all thinking, oh, if only, but how would this be possible? Looking at Krishna, it's like, oh, if only Krishna would have been my son. But that is not possible. But then Krishna found a way, found a very brilliant way to make it possible. And he used the false ego, the little bit of false ego that was there, a tiny little bit of false ego in Lord Brahma, who, if you are sort of the engineer of the universe and you put planetary systems in their place and you just create some bodies for living beings and so on, you start to think that, well, I am somebody, I am somebody. So, Lord, but we are nobody because we are not anybody, right? Even the body of Lord Brahma is a material body. So, sarvopadi venir muktam tat paratveda nirmalam risikena risikesha sevanam bhaktiruchyate. Identification with the material energy, the upadis. We identify with something. Because I have glasses, I'm intellectual. Without, I'm just a farmer. So that's why I got them. Yeah. Like that, yeah. Yes, and so on. Image, sarvopadi, all these things, they add to my identity. Oh, the part of town where I live, where I was born. I mean, do you know where I was born? Yeah. I mean, an aristocratic name. Oh, yes, Chaturvedi. Oh, 4 Vedas. Oh. Acha. Yes. Like this are upadis, external designations that have become part of our identity. This is the name of the game, right? Not only human beings, but even dogs have it also, or animals, any animal. Like a dog, a big dog knows very well it's a big dog. It knows. That dog is walking around. I can tell you which, since I walk around here in the neighborhood, I know which dog is the biggest dog in the neighborhood. It's a monster. It's enormous. Enormous white dog, right? Just terrible. Then there are a few nasty dogs also, right? So, I know them, yes, very well. What can we say? So a dog knows, I'm a big dog, or I'm a nasty dog, right? This is upadi. Upadi. Identification. And not only dogs are nasty. In Amsterdam, I saw on the Rembrandtsplein, I saw a cafe which was called Nasty. And I'm walking past this place, Nasty, and I go like, who wants to go to a place called Nasty? Right? Who would want to go there? Only nasty people, or only somebody who's attracted to being nasty. Nasty? I would walk around it. I did, it's like, look at it like, what's that? They have some strange cafes in Amsterdam, right? I walked, I'm not about going inside now, walking past another one which was called Death, And you go like, who wants to go to a place called Death? Anyway, Holland is like that, challenging people, so they like it. Challenge death, you know what I mean? In The Hague, they have a high building, right? A tower, right? And you know what it's called? Babylon. It's just like, that's just basically say, and what are you gonna do about it? Huh? There's nobody up there anyway. Babylon. We call our towel Babylon, right? Well, I'm always waiting for that building to come down, just one day, to show that God exists after all, right? Sarvopadi, all these external identifications. I'm a rebel. I will be rebellious, I will not wear a mask, right? I don't wear one because I'm the speaker and it sounds too muffled. But and I'm anyway not dangerous because I'm already officially declared as having no COVID. So there you go. Yeah. Well, meanwhile, we are seeing this identification, false identification with the things around us. So this is what happened to Lord Brahma. There was upadi, there was false identification with external things. That's the thing. And what to speak if Lord Brahma is falling prey to this? Who is not falling prey to this? As I said, the dogs are falling prey to this. Who is not falling prey to this? It's like the 10 offenses, avoiding the 10 offenses, right? And sometimes I've explained that when it comes to the 10 offenses and avoiding the 10 offenses, it's not that we should watch for the occasion that we might sometimes walk into the trap of one of the offenses. No, the situation is we're always offensive. And sometimes we snap out of it. That's what's happening. Right? Most of the time, we are actually automatically acting offensive. It's a second nature. And it's to rise above this second nature. Yeah? That is the difficulty. Right? So in the same way, the upadis, it's not like, yes, maybe I also am a little bit influenced by the upadis, right? Just like Giriraj Das Brahmachari at the time said to Srila Prabhupada, he said, Srila Prabhupada, sometimes I'm in Maya. And Prabhupada said, what do you mean? You're always in Maya, right? You're always in Maya. Satsarup Maharaj, who was taking the humble position, said to Prabhupada, he said, I am nothing. And Prabhupada said, you're not nothing, you are something, but you are not what you think you are. Boom. So in this way, we can all appreciate the influence of the upadis. And how much we are captured by them. And that even when we chant Hare Krishna, we're still influenced by these things. Even when we're doing devotional service, still influenced by these things. And it comes to a point where we have to turn to prayer, right? Where we are helpless and where we turn to prayer and say, I just can't do this. I'm not rising above this. I'm not rising above this conditioning. Just like Rupa Goswami says, now, I said, when I look at that direction in the room, then to the right, then there's a row of brahmacharis in my vision, all saffron. And Srila Rupa Goswami writes in his Pajavali, he said, by wearing saffron cloth, you cannot overcome lust. That is true. That is true. That is it's not so simple. And then he says, yes, by taking shelter of devotional service. But are we taking shelter? So we are praying to Krishna. Oh Krishna, please let me rise above these upadis. So Lord Brahma was influenced also. And now we should understand that Lord Brahma is way above us. Way above us. So it's not that we should become condescending now in our mind and start thinking, oh, look at that Lord Brahma. He was, under the influence of material identification. Well, I'm a bit disappointed in Lord Brahma. Well, if you are a little bit disappointed in Lord Brahma, then start getting a little disappointed in yourself, because Lord Brahma is much greater than we are. He has 4 heads to begin with, and that helps, right? Because he can think, 4 different things at the same time. You try that. You can only think of one thing at the same time. So yes, like this. That's interesting. Yeah, you can become Lord Brahma then. Yes, why not? And yes, some artists are dreaming of creating worlds. And they create worlds, of art. Yeah, or architects, for example, are also amongst them. They create. Yeah, well, if you're pious at the same time, you can become Lord Brahma. Yeah, why not? This urge to create, this urge to control, right? Create, yes, it's my creation, It's like, I made this, you see? Like, my ego is in there. Yes. So how tricky is the false ego, and how deep is it? And Lord Brahma somehow or other became influenced. The same Lord Brahma, we remember that Lord Brahma in the beginning sits in the dark universe, sits on the lotus flowers, trying to understand the origin of everything. Then hears the cause of his existence, hears the sound ta, pa, starts performing austerity, and then at one point Lord Brahma actually becomes inspired with the creative impulse and with the knowledge of what the purpose is of the creation, and in this way he can fulfill that task of the creation. At one point he gets a darshan of Lord Narayan, and then it is described how when they meet there is a handshake. Right? There's a handshake. This is the original handshake. Right? You can look in Wikipedia and it tells you something about handshake, but they got it wrong. They got it wrong. And someone should correct that, like someone who's like into wiki can fix it up. It's wrong. Because they say this came about in the Middle Ages and people were just giving the hand to show they had no weapons or something. Some rubbish like that. No. We have the original handshake between Lord Narayan and Lord Brahma, which creates this kind of thing, like we're partners. You know what I mean? When the Lord gives you a handshake, well, it sort of makes you feel, well, he recognizes me as like sort of, as my partner, and we're doing this together, yeah? This whole thing. So that's interesting. We can see, but it is true. It is not just that Lord Brahma was imagining this. Lord Brahma is actually the intimate associate of the Supreme Lord. He is the intimate instrument of the Lord. He is the extension of the Lord in this way. Truly the agent of the Lord works through him. And he is via media, and he's a transparent via media. But somehow or other, just for a moment, just like on a sunny day, a little cloud covers the sun for a moment, and then sun is back, right? So a little cloud was there. Then if you see how long Lord Brahma lives, on such a long lifespan, I looked at it the other day, and it said 411 trillion and 311 billion years. All right, you got that. I don't know off the top of my head how many zeros a trillion is. I would have to Google that. He says it's 12. Okay, there you go. Rita also knows. So that's a number that's like a bit big, because only in astronomy numbers like that come up. And I was never interested in numbers with astronomy. I was only interested in numbers with money. And, trillions, that's beyond my budget. Yeah. But if someone has $1 trillion lying around, they can donate it. I'll give you the bank details anytime. And if you want to donate something towards the $1 trillion, you're also welcome anytime. Anyway, the point is that yes. So I want to emphasize the exalted nature of Lord Brahma very thoroughly. And I think that that's very important in this pastime, that we are taking that as a prerequisite. And we're seeing then that Krishna is using Lord Brahma's stealing of the boys and the calves to reciprocate with the residents of Vrindavan. And in this way, in one pastimes, Krishna is fulfilling various purposes. He is on the one hand he is correcting Lord Brahma. On the other hand, he is inspiring the residents of Vrindavan by fulfilling their desires, because this is what is being stated, that in scripture, that when we take up devotional service, we have no need for any anxiety, because Krishna will fulfill all our desires. So it's not that, 99% of my energy, devotional service, and 1% I just reserve it for, making sure that I fulfill these desires also, or the percentages can change. But a percentage I also keep for fulfilling my desires, because, Krishna, he may not fulfill my desire. And then what? And then I'm still sitting with my desire. This is a complication. Yes. Therefore, let us reserve a little bit of energy for our own desires, just in case it's not going to happen. There is the Kanista, right? And the Kanista Adhikari, is a devotee who has weak faith. What does that mean? It means that Shraddha Sapta Vishwaskaya Sudrida Nischaya Krishna Bhakti Koila Sarva Karma Krita Hai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives the definition of Shraddha, of faith, and says the firm conviction that by practicing devotional service all good will be attained. Yes. But if one thinks, well, yeah, but maybe not all. All spiritual good, of course, but how about a little bit of material good, It's like, I know a surgeon, and his hobby is Formula One racing. Yeah? And he really likes it, so he sometimes wants to go to Formula One racing. At first I didn't understand it, but then I noticed when he went into his surgeon mode, then he is like a Formula One racer. He's like, it's like such a focus. Because, when you're Formula One, you don't want to sort of space out half a second, right? Because you're off the road already, or whatever else. So it's super intense concentration. He has that same thing, and that's why he likes Formula One racing. Now, I understood it after a while. Anyway, I don't begrudge him this, but I'm just using an example of there may be something that we also like a lot, just a lot. besides Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, if you know what I mean. Yeah, we like the chanting of Hare Krishna, but there may be a few things we like besides that. Again and again the question comes, can we take chocolate? Well, there was a resolution from the GBC that you could not take chocolate. Then there was a subcommittee that was reviewing old obsolete resolutions, and resolutions that really were no longer relevant. And then they scrapped some, and then the subcommittee reported, and they had also scrapped the chocolate one. So there is nothing officially banning us from taking chocolate. But why would you want to take chocolate? At least nothing from the GBC side, the ultimate managing authority. So, what about it? Yeah, there is some bromide in it. Which is something, and that's like a very mild level of stimulant, one could say. So some might, you just throw them all through big machines, crush the whole thing, and there's a certain part of insect parts. And the World Health Organization, if you didn't know that, has actually authorized a certain percentage of insect parts that are acceptable in chocolate. All right, okay, just should we take chocolate? Yeah, well, it's up to you. As you wish. You can explain it to Krishna at the end of your life. Well, it was just a few insect parts, Krishna. It wasn't like, wasn't that much. See, wherever we want to stretch the limits, we should know that at the end of our life, it's something we have to explain. Huh? That's just, it's like, I remember our Sridhar Maharaj, who was having a liver failure and eventually turned to liver cancer, and then he was lying there on his final days, and as different devotees, as we all visited him, he said, "I've been a good boy." It's pretty good if you can say that at the end of your life. It's sort of, I mean, if you can sort of feel like that, right? I've walked the right path. But if there are a few skeletons in the closet and they're nicely hidden, well, guess what? Guess what? The day you die, right? The door of that closet will be open and they'll all fall out. And it will be all exposed, yes, in our consciousness. That's there. There are, of course, there is mantra and there is also yantra. Yantra are drawings that are expressing spiritual meaning. So most yantras have a square on the outside, or sometimes a circle. But anyway, that square or circle is representing the universe. So let's say there's a square, it represents the universe. Then there is a circle inside, and it represents the gross body. Then there's a next circle inside, and it represents the subtle body. And then there may be a core which represents the soul. So we can see it's like a map, actually. And then, in some of these yantras, in the circle of the subtle body, they have the cemeteries, right? They have the cemeteries. Okay. So, and in the cemeteries, there all the things that we are hiding, all these sinful activities that we have performed, but that actually are between us and the Supreme Lord, are hidden there within the subtle body. Interesting. Oh, interesting. Yes, so so it is our good fortune if we can walk the path of pure devotion. Akama sarva kama va moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogena yayeta purusham param. See, let me carry on with Sridhar Maharaj. A few years earlier, Sridhar Maharaj was taking treatment in the Bhaktivedanta Hospital, Ayurvedic, and he stayed in an apartment nearby. I visited him, and at the time he was worshipping a particularly ghastly-looking Nrsinga Shila. Yeah? So I asked him, I said, Maharaj, why are you worshipping this Nrsinga Shila? He said, so that I may overcome the fear of death. Now, he said, such a senior sannyasi, like fear of death. But it was also interesting that he wasn't taking it lightly and that he was very serious about overcoming it in every possible way. And that's exactly what he showed at the very end. He was very casual about it. Like I said, he was a good boy. Then, his belly was all swollen up, filled up with liquid, right? And it's a huge belly, and he was lying on his back, and there was a whole group of devotees standing around, and someone touched the belly. And Maharaj was lying there, eyes closed, not speaking. Someone touched the belly. Then he opened his eyes and said, "It's a boy." So, he kept his sense of humor until he could. Not only did he have a sense of humor till the end, but he could laugh about himself. This is the greatest sense of humor, when you can laugh about yourself, when you can actually take your own material situation not so serious. Right? That shows a really advanced state of consciousness. So he's totally laughing about himself, and then one day he tells his servant, today I'm going to give up my body. And the servant thought, well, maybe Maharaj is sort of in a mood of giving up, getting a little bit depressed now by the approach of death and, swinging mood swings, So I think maybe it's a mood, right? So he thought, well, so the servant said, well, you never know. And Maharaj said, no, today I'm going to leave. And he did. But it just sounded like, oh, today I'm going to do some shopping or something like that. That's how it sounded. Today I'm going to leave my body. Oh yeah, today, I'll go and do some shopping. He was very casual about it, which really proved he had no fear, because everybody else is like, today, I'm going to leave my body. Right? So, this is the wonderful thing of Krishna consciousness, that if we are actually living a pure life, not only can we become purified from all the previous contamination, which will be destroyed by devotional service, but then we can get a totally pure consciousness. And then, when the time comes, Krishna will be there, and we can go before him without any reservation and just bow down before him. And Krishna will pick us up and say, come, right? Come. And next moment, we are there in Golok. And next moment, he'll take us home and we'll sit with Krishna and take some prasadam. Krishna will say to Nanda Maharaj, today I'm bringing, and we'll be there. And Krishna will throw some preps on our plate, straight from his plate. Read the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, and you'll find descriptions like that. So this is amazing, amazing. So how nice is this movement? How great are the blessings? And by the blessings of this movement, the combination of our efforts in sadhana and the combination of the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the combination, and even greater than the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the mercy of Lord Nityananda, and even greater, the mercy of the pure devotees in Parampara. And all of them are praying for us. And so, it can be done somehow or other. And if we could only do that, walk the path of pure devotional service. And when I say walk the path, it doesn't mean that we are pure, but we're on the path of pure activities. And then at the end, we will become pure on that path and meet Krishna. Then we can meet Krishna face to face without any fear. Because fear of death is ultimately fear of Krishna. So any questions, any comments?
Could you say something more about this, Maharaj?
It's slightly louder.
Could you say something more about this notion of having fear of Krishna?
Bhayam dvitiya abhinivesita syat, right? That fear comes as soon as we have an other purpose than Krishna. Then there will be fear. If we have only one purpose, satisfying Krishna, then no fear. But when we have any other purpose, then there will be fear. And it's very subtle and very tricky, obviously. And we all have other purposes. I mean, by the time that we came to this Krishna consciousness movement, whether we were born into it or whether we found it 25 years or 20 years later, we were thoroughly established in the bodily concept of life. There you go. And that means all the upadhis. There you go. 2 agendas. I and mine and Krishna. So, as long as I and mine remains, then we'll be afraid. But when it will be only Krishna, yes, it's like, I belong to Krishna, everything I do belongs to Krishna. And when we've consistently acted in that way, then we can actually be happy. I mean, just like if someone has been cheating me, right? Let's say a disciple has been cheating me, and we go like, how are you? Right? And this disciple has secretly been breaking the 4 regulated principles. He cannot look me in the eyes, he or she. Right? Or cannot look with an open face, I can see it at a glance. Who is hiding something? Who is open? Right? And in this way, or who has a poker face? Yeah. How are you? Yeah. One can see it at a glance, and Krishna can see it much better. Krishna doesn't miss anything. So, like this, to become a pure devotee, let it all come out in the wash, and at the end of our life. Anyway, at the end of our life, right, because this is Lord Chaitanya's movement, we get a big doses of mercy. That's like the bonus. You get a bonus at the end. The 13th month, you know, you get a big bonus at the end of life. So there is hope. Anyone else? I can't look that far, so I can hear. Yes? But I cannot hear you also.
I felt that Lord Brahma is a pure devotee.
Yeah, but now you see. There you go. See? Just see. So, how is this possible? It means that even in great devotees, right, there is a potential to fall under the influence of the material energy. But when that happens, Krishna will make immediately arrangements to attract, to correct it. So these pure devotees, I have a stiff neck and it's a little hard to look where you are, so I'll just talk to Redai, but
I'm here.
yeah. Yeah, it's nicer if you can read a face. But, so I'll try. And so the thing is that the living being by nature, right, is anu, is atomic in size. And Krishna and his spiritual energy, they are vibhu, they're all-pervading. The material energy is the reflection of the spiritual energy. Therefore, the material energy is very vast. And therefore, the illusory energy is very, very vast. And then Srila Prabhupada says that the jiva, due to the littleness of his existence, is prone to illusion. And we can see, right, that there are all kinds of illusions. Lord Brahma was not interested in sense gratification, in enjoying the material energy. Lord Brahma became captured by taking pride in his own abilities, which is more subtle. Right? So it is tricky, very tricky. But it happened for a moment. It happened. And Krishna immediately made arrangements to protect him. So he didn't fall down or anything, was immediately corrected and continued in his pure devotion. So even if a pure devotee, sometimes, and I said before, he lived 411 trillion and 311 million, a billion years, which is very long, right? Therefore, just a moment of distraction, a spot on the moon. We're not going to talk about the spot on the moon, we're talking about the beautiful bright moon, and there's a spot on it. So if there's a little spot, we don't even see it. So pure devotee. Lord Brahma is a pure devotee. And even if there's 2 occasions that are registered where Lord Brahma deviated for a moment, we take that as the inherent weakness of the jiva, and we see that Krishna immediately made arrangements for him to be corrected. Because he had purchased Krishna with his pure devotional service. Yes.
Thank you, Mark, for your presentation.
Dying. Death.
That's the topic here, indeed.
Death as a topic. The cafe. You want to go in the cafe. Let's check it out.
That's the thing. And how to phrase it in a proper way, to put it in a question, is we have beautiful philosophy, and at the moment of death, think about Krishna, and you will go to Krishna. But at the same time, we died so many times, and we had so many thoughts at the moment of dying. And I'm sure a number of us had some understanding of God, and we didn't.
Yeah, we blew it. Yeah? In previous lives, we blew it. Yeah? We didn't make it. What about that? But this time, a miracle happened. This time, a miracle happened. This time, suddenly, we connected with Srila Prabhupada. And he came. So this time, although we are just as weak as we were in previous lives, yeah? And although it may still be hard for us to have no doubts, no fears, nothing at the end of life, then Prabhupada's mercy. But this time, we have Prabhupada's mercy. That's the one thing. And all others, the next generations, are serving Prabhupada's mercy. Right? The next generation of gurus in our movement after Prabhupada, they're serving Prabhupada's mercy. Right? We have this, last night, it was on a little Zoom with Vaisheshika and many devotees, and it's all about 2 million Bhagavad Gitas in the marathon, this, that, and he has plans, and it's brilliant, amazing. I mean, to see. I mean, and how he's just the instrument of Prabhupada's mercy. Yeah. So that's the one thing we and for the rest, Prabhupada spelled it out, right? Prabhupada's mercy is not something ethereal. There is two elements to this mercy. The practical element and the mystical element. The mystical element we cannot see and we don't know, like just Prabhupada's desire that Krishna will... But the practical side of it, that we can do something about, right? So living by Prabhupada's books, studying them, somehow or other making them our own, that we can do. That will make a big difference. Then the mystical mercy will come at the end. What that will be, Dekha habe, that we will see when it happens. Yeah, I've been in this life many times on the edge of death somehow or other, like close missers. Not only like one in a car, where death flashes by for a moment and survive, or a serious car accident, something like that. But then, when I was shot, it looked like I was going to die, because I couldn't speak, and the devotees didn't understand what had happened, and there was a misunderstanding. They thought I had an electric shock, and they didn't realize I had a lot of internal bleeding. And it took forever before they took me to a hospital. Forever. And I'd lost so much blood, I had lost over 4 liters of blood. So, it's a miracle that I didn't die, right? Krishna's grace. So, and I remember that I was unconscious, but I was conscious. And at that point, there were a few moments, that I had some experiences. At one point I went out of the hospital, through the wall in my subtle body and checked everything out. And at another moment, I was also conscious, although I was unconscious in a coma. And I felt all the energy going. And I knew, if now I don't fight this, I'll go, I'll leave. And I fought it. Right? At a little bit earlier moment, before the hospital, I was sitting on my knees, a lot of internal bleeding, and I was thinking, there's a good chance I'm not going to survive this. What do I do now? So I thought, okay, Krishna, I guess I'll have to take another birth. If you wouldn't mind, could it be in Vrindavan? Right? Since I was serving in Vrindavan. Then I asked him, maybe I can go to the Gurukul. I take the risk. Yeah? I prayed like that. And so that was like thinking about dying. But then I started to think, yeah, but I'm now not dead yet. I'm still alive. Have I finished my service? Then I thought, no, I haven't. There was a very complex issue going on at the time about the Gaudiya Math and some of our leaders being involved. And I had a report on that on my computer. I decided that that should go to the GBC. So I walked up to my room, somehow or other. It was like on a Saturday night, you know, all my sinful activities of the past helped me to walk, like zigzagging from one side to the other, and I made it to the room, and I managed to called for Kadamba Swami and gave him my computer and told him what was there. Then I had the land deeds of Vrindavan, which I turned over to Braja Bihari and this and that. So then, okay, I closed my service. I said, okay, now I can think about dying again. Right. So then I focused on dying. And anyway, somehow or other I lived. No. Second time, this cancer then, which I had 5 years ago, I also got at one point into the dying mode. I had gone down to 42 kilos, which is not a lot for someone of my build, 42 kilos. So I became very, very weak, right? And it looked grim, right? And so I was getting into the mood of dying. But then somewhere I shifted back to the mood of living. So it's very interesting in the face of death how we do have mood swings of thinking about dying and letting go, and moments of still doing something in devotional service. Anyway, that time on the shot when I was saying, let me take birth in the Gurukul, I had one more point, and that was, I prayed that if I survive this, then I pray that the next time, my dear Krishna, that the next time I'm in this same situation, that I'll have some more love for you. Because I realized that it wasn't hard to think of Krishna. I didn't need 50 devotees to scream in my ear, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. I didn't need someone to put a Shalagram Shila in my hand, like Krishna, Krishna, or to stick some tulsis in my throat that I might choke on. I didn't need that. I was thinking of Krishna. Because what else will you think of? Right? In the face, when we're in trouble, what will we think of? We have had enough, we developed enough faith by Prabhupada that we know Krishna is our shelter. So when you're about to die, it's not just like, oh, now I have to remember Krishna. It's, you want to remember Krishna. You're remembering Krishna like anything, because help, Krishna, here I'm coming. Krishna, do something, please. Right? So it's like difficult to think of Krishna. All of us would think of Krishna. Very naturally. But where's the love? That was my realization. So, still thinking about that. Where's the love? Okay, I think I'll end. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.